Planning Board. Tonight is August 1st, time is 7 p.m. And we're gonna do roll call for the record. Would each board member please state their name?
Sure. Rebecca Schneider.
Linda Little.
Pete Angie, Chair.
Joel Klein.
All right, excellent. Let's look at the agenda. Are there any comments or any modifications to the agenda tonight? Okay, all in favor?
I
Aye.
All right, actually, so moving on to minutes. The minutes that we have are from July 18th. They're quite lengthy and I understand that a lot of you just got access to them today. So I would like to postpone the approval of our past minutes.
I'll make a motion.
second it.
All in favor?
I
Aye.
Our next order of business is privilege of the floor. Privilege of the floor is for comments from the public that are not about any of the items that are in front of us today. If you have a comment that is about one of our business items today, then that'll come later during a public comment period. Is there anybody here who would like to make comments to the planning board, utilizing privilege of the floor? Okay, thank you. Sir, I'd like to get you a chair.
It's okay,
Are you sure?
yeah.
Okay,
Fine.
all right, excellent.
I don't need to intimidate.
So we're gonna move through our agenda tonight. We have three items. We actually have 4 items to review. And 2 of them are public hearings. And so with each item, the applicant will talk a little bit about their application, their project. And then we'll open up the floor for public comment. And members of the public will need to state their name and their address for the record and come up to the microphone because our meetings are recorded. And then you'll each have 3 minutes to provide your comment, and I'll time that. Our first order of the night is the Washburn 2-lot land subdivision, and this is a public hearing. And I see the applicants present. We've looked at this at sketch plat review, and you just introduce yourself and just give us a real quick summary of your project.
My name is Mark Washburn. I live at 2141 Craft Road. We are a 90-acre farm that has been in my wife's family for, well, relatives of my family, her family, since 1920. We're looking to subdivide 30 acres. Everybody knows taxes in this area are outstanding. A family of 6 paying taxes on 90 acres, something has to give in order for us to stay in this area. So we're looking to subdivide 30 acres of our 90-acre farm. That's the basis of the application.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the board for the applicant?
have just one comment. Thank you. I understand your rationale. Last time we were together, we mentioned the fact that it looked like there could be 3 flag lots, and you indicated it was not, that middle piece was not intended as a flag lot.
That middle piece is not
Right,
intended as a flag lot.
Right.
That is just simply access so we can
Right.
continue to farm
that's great.
the back acreage.
Yep.
That is
Yep. It makes
aligned with.
great
the-
sense, and I'm glad you're continuing to farm.
Yeah.
I'll just note though, for the record, in our zoning standards 212-130 standards for flag lots. Item D says no parcel may be subdivided into more than 2 flag lots as of the adoption of the zoning chapter. So it looks like that. So once it's sold out, we can't have anybody come in and go, oh, we're gonna, want to buy that extra piece or anything like that. Can never be a third.
I will address that.
Okay, great.
That is not
Yep.
an option for us.
Right,
We
okay.
refuse to do that. It is not allowed in our zoning,
Yep,
nor would we pursue something like
yep,
that.
that's,
Our main focus was to keep access to that back field
Yep.
so we could continue to farm it.
yep.
So, Mark, do you have a bridge over Willow Creek or any way of
We
getting
do,
to there?
but it will not
Hold the
sustain
track, the equipment,
40
yeah,
feet equipment.
yeah,
And it would be a big cost to put in a culvert.
yeah, because that's a
And we would-
deep culvert.
Yeah,
there,
we would have to bring in DEC, and
Yeah, right,
cost wise, leaving an access on the backside makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
And I just want that on the record that,
Mhm.
because one day you may sell and then the next person comes in, they don't get it. And but we win it. That's
What
why it
we-
goes on the record.
What we are looking to do, the only other thing we can do with our property after this subdivision are lot line adjustments.
Yeah.
We cannot subdivide our property anymore.
Right,
So we have 50 acres that we can't do anything with. We can't subdivide parcels for our 4 children.
right.
So we're just trying to keep the bulk of the farm together. And this is our opportunity to do
Right.
it.
Thank you very much.
All right, you may have a seat. Thank you. Is there anyone here that would like to comment? This is a public hearing on this 2-lot land subdivision. And just please state your name and address for the record, and I'll begin your timer now. Sure.
My name is Brad Buell. I live at 5251 Crumbs Corners Road, directly behind their farm, which it borders my property. And the only comments that I have, and I certainly don't mind somebody subdividing their property to sell off some land. But with what's being proposed to do with the land, that's what I have a concern about. With the proposed rec area, with soccer fields and the like. I've seen the document.
Excuse me, what are you referring to?
I've seen the document from the town of Ulysses that talks about the 30 acres being sold to the town of Ulysses for a rec center. At $7,000 an acre. It was widely distributed to the people in the neighborhood.
So, okay, go ahead, you can
Yes.
continue to talk.
And everybody knows in the area that we have water problems, especially during dry summers. And then runoff. I mean, just a couple of years ago, across the street, it was so much rain that it washed people's driveways out into the road. And I can't imagine, parking lots and things like that that are necessary for for something like that to be there, and I'm downhill. And that's my concern. Yeah. And the other problem is we live on a quiet country road. And I can't imagine the traffic impact from the proposed use of this piece of property. For our road in our neighborhood. I mean, we walk, I can't tell you how many people walk on the road. There's dozens that live in the neighborhood that do the squares. We follow with their dogs. I have 2 cats that follow me with our 2 dogs. And, I just don't want to see that kind of traffic. That's my.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to make a comment?
Yeah, my name is Steve Cobb. I live at 5160 Crumbs Corners Road. I'm right across from,
We're gonna go with the gentleman that just came up to the podium first.
okay.
You'll- Thank you.
My name is Jim Brown. I live on 5118 Du Bois Road. And I like Mark as a neighbor. He's a good neighbor. But I feel this is kind of a shady deal that nobody here seems to mention the fact we want to sell this land to the town of Ulysses for soccer fields. Now, all we do is say we need to preserve agricultural land. That's all I hear every meeting. And so we're gonna take 30 acres of wet ground and we're gonna make soccer fields out of it. There is no electricity there. There is no water there. There's no municipal water. There's no municipal sewer. And we're gonna build all these fields up in this area to do this with on a back road in a residential area. I mean, why doesn't somebody be honest and come out and say what the subdivision's for? Nobody's mentioning that. I mean, it's public knowledge. And I happen to be downstream of this, and I collect all the water on my 2 streams, even in the survey map. Nobody mentioned there's a stream that comes right down through my property, nothing there. Seems somehow it got omitted. But I get flooded every time we have a heavy rain. Has anybody in this room looked at this property from the road to see the washout that's this wide, this deep, right at the roadside? I bet nobody's even looked. And now you're gonna take and you wanna put 30 acres up in there in an agricultural land. And you expect a farmer to come up and spray fungicide and insecticide next to a soccer field? What do you people think? I mean, this is not the place. I mean, you're putting all this money into Camp Barton. They've got roads, they've got water, they've got sewer. Why can't you do something down there or some other place? Not in a back residential area. This is totally wrong. I would just wish somebody could have been honest and brought this up.
Thank you. I would like to make a comment. Tonight's hearing is on the subdivision only. And it is not about any proposed use of the land after subdivision. Property owners, when they choose, excuse me, sir, I'm talking, hold on one second. Property owners, right, when they choose to subdivide their land, the intended use could be a number of things, right? It could be, sale to a single family that wants to build a home. It could be for rec fields. It could be for any number of things. Our concern tonight is the subdivision of this parcel. And it is not what may or may not be built on that parcel following subdivision. Now, if a rec field is proposed for that particular property or any property, that project in itself, that has to come in its own right to the planning board and potentially to the Board of Zoning Appeals if their variance is needed. And there's a whole level of review that's done for a project like a rec field, but that is not what we're doing here tonight. So I just wanted to make that clear. And I would like the public to only address their comments towards the subdivision. And some of the stuff that we look at, with subdivision is like, does it provide, easy access to the road? Is it going to require, is it too wet to build on? Is it, going to interfere with the stream? These kinds of things. There could be any number of things that get proposed and have to come before us later. But that's not what our purpose is here tonight. So I just ask the members of the public to keep their comments to the subdivision only and not to a proposed field. That if that is proposed, that will have its own public hearing in its own right. Well, I'm just going to give the applicant a moment. Yes.
Can I make a quick comment? Or would you like me to wait?
I would like
until-
you to wait till the end of the public comment
Perfect.
period.
Just
Great,
for
thank you. All right.
Thank you.
So Steve, Mr. Cobb, you are next.
Yeah, I don't have any issues with dividing the land. My Right.
Please state your addresses.
concerns were more around the use of the land. As you stated, it sounds like that's a separate meeting for zoning and approval.
Okay, thank you, sir. Yeah, wait, please come to the microphone. And then just state your name and your address for the record.
My name is Dan Clement. I live at 5027 Du Bois Road. Can we make a little exception here and reopen the general questions that have absolutely nothing to do with this, I guess?
No,
I mean,
no,
everybody
sir,
here wants.
we can't. That will have its own
If
public
I
hearing.
start talking about this, you'll probably ask me to leave.
Well, so we have several other, items on the agenda tonight that have public hearings, and these comments that you make tonight, they're not gonna be in the public comment period for any proposal that comes after. So save them, write
I
them,
think it's important
send them to us
information
in an email.
I think they're important
Letter.
things that should be said sooner rather than later. Because presumably,
So tonight is,
The town-
this is not the place for it. It will be eventually if there is, a proposal put in front of us that
well,
needs
we'll
to
let
have.
people
a
go
public
on
hearing.
with bad ideas then, because.
One suggestion, again, we have to stick to what we're allowed to do,
Yeah.
and that's what purpose.
Okay,
Write a letter to the town board,
Yeah.
start getting
Uh-huh.
your comments on file. They'll come to us and then we'll be able to deal with them appropriately. So get them, write
we're
them
not
down.
gonna reopen the earlier section.
No, we're not.
That's history, right?
It's not history. It's actually, it could be the future, right? If there's a proposal that comes out, please come back. Absolutely want to hear what you have to say when it's the right time.
That's obvious.
Yes.
So, sir,
Sure, just a
so there is a privilege for.
yes, yeah,
So you
well,
can talk about anything.
they
you want,
actually,
right?
so, it was at the beginning of the meeting.
Yeah.
It was at the beginning, but I asked it,
Usually.
be opened up again.
We did. Okay, we could do a second at the end.
I think as a town board member, I would encourage you to do a second.
Let's do that.
Privilege
Okay.
of the floor, because
Mhm.
now what you're saying is you can talk about this, because it has nothing to do with the subdivision. So anybody can talk as much as they want about the use, since this is not a subdivision issue.
So we could do, yeah, we can do that at the end of the meeting.
But it won't be part of the public record
Right,
for this.
exactly.
It won't,
It'll just be-
regular privilege.
yeah,
Okay,
mhm. Okay, fair enough, all right. Did you want to make a comment still?
Did anybody else? I would love to hear everybody's concern, please.
If about the subdivision, I really don't want to open this up at this time about.
About the subdivision, yes, but when I make my state. We're fine here, yeah, that's okay.
Hunter Sherwood, 2235 Craft Road. I'm very good friends with Mark. I've known him a long time. I have no issues with the subdivision. I'm not gonna get into the uses because we can't do that tonight. What I'd like to ask of the board is neighbors to get a little more notice of subdivisions. We received ours Sunday. Other people I know received theirs yesterday. You guys need a lot more time to go over the process, whereas we get a day, maybe two. If possible, yes, I know the sign was in the road, it has to be there a week.
And it was the wrong time.
And we don't necessarily always drive around that way.
So.
A letter in the mail sooner would be much appreciated by all the neighbors.
Okay,
Thank
thank you. Thank you.
I was checking.
Yeah, absolutely. Any other comments in regard to the subdivision? All right, Yeah.
Motion to close the hearing?
I will accept a motion to close the public hearing.
Can I,
Oh,
You like,
or
well, you can make a comment right after, yeah.
I would just like to clear the air a little.
Can-
Let me come up.
So
Yeah,
let's
can you-
let's do our motion to close the
Close
public
the
hearing.
hearing.
Yeah, so that's how much, whatever the second.
well, can he keep talking then?
No, I
was gonna close the
will,
public hearing, then
I'm
you
gonna
talk.
stay till the
Okay,
end
sure.
when you
I second
have.
it.
Okay,
privilege of the
can
floor.
we have,
yeah, that way. That's
okay, any discussion
Um,
on closing the public hearing?
and then it's our turn for, all right, second that motion, everybody.
Any
Yeah.
discussion on it, all in favor? of closing the public
Aye.
hearing? Aye. Excellent. Okay.
Okay.
Did you want to make a comment now, or were you looking?
I will
You'll
stay
wait?
with
Okay.
everybody
Fair
that wants to
enough.
stay
Yes.
and have
Fair
a
enough.
conversation.
Fair
That
enough.
way we can finish the business that's
Okay,
on your agenda.
sounds good, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Are there any, so. Let's have a discussion about this.
Okay,
As
again, love that people are showing up. I feel like our town is an engaged town. It's great.
yeah,
I think the comments about not getting their stuff sooner and being made aware of it. It makes everybody upset. I mean, so I think we have got to get better about doing that. So let's talk about that when we have actually
Yeah.
time to talk about how we function.
Yeah.
All right, notification. Apparently there's information out there that we weren't aware of, which is causing concern. So we need to talk to the board about how
yeah,
there's back channels or back information, because that's again causing a lack of clarity about this. Read the subdivision, we've talked about it. I made my one comment about that third, making sure there's no other flag lights
Yeah.
showing up.
Yeah.
So it's legitimate for all,
Yes.
by all of our standards. It's a totally legitimate and he has good reason. So
right,
as for the subdivision, I feel like it's a legitimate request.
Yeah,
Other
and I
comments?
second, but I started hearing about it this weekend about that there was a use for it, that even going to the town board, I didn't realize that we're talking about this property, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
I
I
think
didn't
that's
hear
a
about it
concern.
at all.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'd like to say, I have not heard about that proposed use either. Tonight is the first time that I've heard about it.
Yeah.
As far as the subdivision goes, it's a conforming subdivision. It meets our requirements for frontage, it meets our requirements for acreage. By a lot, it is not out of the ordinary,
get 3 minutes.
in any way. I would accept a motion to,
We have a resolution.
we do have a resolution. You were gonna, oh, here they are. Excellent. Okay. Well, let's do this, let's do the seeker first. Any comments on the seeker, any concerns?
Well, I haven't seen it.
It's in the application.
Is it?
Yeah,
Well, we must have missed it. Okay.
yeah.
You got your comments? No, my ask, that's the application, that's all I have.
Yeah.
You have it.
Yeah,
I must have it somewhere.
we saw, when we did the sketch plat review, it was part of the
It's
application.
Actually,
material.
part of that same PDF, Mo. It's
Yeah.
after the picture with the blue buffered streams. It's right
No,
after
I have
that.
nothing after it.
Oh.
Mine ends there.
You'd like to take a look at Neil's, so we'll give you a moment, Mo. Okay, take a look at that. Does anybody find a reason to find, to not find a negative termination on the secret?
Uh-uh.
Okay. All right. So I would accept a motion to find a negative determination of environmental significance for
First,
the seeker.
Yep.
Mhm.
Second,
Any discussion? Okay. All in favor?
aye.
Aye.
All right, I'd like to read the following resolution. I will skip the first 8 points.
Which one is it in
It's,
the email that went out
In the
today?
email that went out, it's number 2023-014.
You,
You good, Mo?
Yeah, I'm good.
All right.
I see it.
All right, a resolution of final approval of the Washburn two-lot land subdivision located at 2141 Craft Road, Town of Ulysses. Tax parcel 26.1-6.22. Whereas the planning board finds the following, the proposed action is, I'll just summarize this, because you've all seen it. Is in consideration of a minor subdivision of a parcel located on a vacant parcel. Generally located at 2141 Craft Road, Town of Ulysses, tax parcel, which I just read. The existing parcel of 89.343 acres will be subdivided into 2 lots. Parcel 1 will be 59.345 acres. And parcel 2 will be 30 acres. This is an unlisted action for which the Town of Ulysses Planning Board, as lead agency, has on August 1st made a negative determination of environmental significance after having reviewed and accepted as adequate the short environmental assessment form. The action does not require 239 review for the intergovernmental agreement made with Tompkins County. Notice the public hearing was published in the Ithaca Journal on July 27th, was posted on the town's public legal notice board, posted on the town's webpage, was posted on the subject site, and was mailed to the property owners within a 500-foot radius of the subject property. Planning board has reviewed and accepted as adequate a subdivision map. Lots shown on said plat do comply with zoning requirements, are in compliance with all other applicable provisions of the zoning code and other ordinances as applicable. And the land shown on the plat are of such character that it can be used safely for building purposes without danger to health or peril from fire, flood, drainage, or other menace to neighboring properties or the public health, safety, and welfare. Now therefore, the planning board resolves the following. Planning board hereby grants final subdivision approval for the proposed minor subdivision as described above and is shown on the subdivision map noted above. Accept a motion to approve the resolution.
make a motion to approve.
Can I get a second?
sure.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. All right, so we'll send you notice of that in a few days.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I will be here
Okay.
after all of the other business to
Okay,
talk with
Okay.
everybody if you would like.
okay,
Thank you.
all right. Our next item on our agenda tonight is. Let's pull my computer back here. Dollar General Site Plan Review. This is our second public hearing on the Dollar General proposed project. Our first public hearing was held on July 18th. And we had a presentation from the applicant, and we had comments from many members of the public. I would like to give a brief introduction to what the proposal is. The applicant has applied for site plan review to construct a new 10,640 square foot retail store for Dollar General, with associated parking, lighting, signage, landscaping, etc. The planning board conducted sketch plan review during the April 4th and June 6th meetings and requested additional information at the last meeting and gave direction on public hearing requirements for final site plan review. Retail uses up to 12,000 square feet of building area are permitted in the office, technology, and mixed use zone with site plan approval. The proposal is considered an unlisted action. So we received many public comments last time. And then we also asked the applicant to make some changes to propose some changes to the exterior of their building. And we have not yet received any proposed changes to the exterior or to or to the siding. At this time, at this second public hearing, we're going to receive more of your comments. And these comments, we need to weigh as a board against the the requirements of site plan, the requirements of special permit, which this requires, and our comprehensive plan. And after public gives comment, then we'll have time to speak as a board as well, on the record here in front of all of you. Niels, yeah.
Just real quick, it just needs site plan approval, does not require a special use.
Does not require a special permit because it's in the office, technology, and mixed use.
Right.
I see. Okay, all right. I'd like to start by allowing the applicant to give a brief presentation of their project or any changes that you may have come up with since we last met.
Sure.
Okay, for the record, my name is Chris Boyer. I'm with Bowler Engineering. And we recently received a whole bunch of public comments that were submitted in writing. Many of those comments were pre-written prior to my presentation that I gave last meeting. And so they boiled down to a few general themes. And if I could just kind of run through the 4 or 5 general themes that we took out of all of those comments that were there. A lot of the comments were geared around why do we need this in general, kind of a bigger theme. And I would just point out that it is an allowed use. Zoning does allow this, and it is being proposed next to other established businesses areas. And that it is located on a New York State highway. So it does comply with the zoning and so we're not proposing a use that it isn't allowed. And it does comply with all the bulk zoning requirements for the zone. Another comment was that the building doesn't fit, maybe some aesthetics, there were some pictures that I had taken away of some other potential Dollar Generals that were been proposed. And we've talked with Dollar General and the developer a little bit about that. Certainly adds significant cost in addition to some of the additional landscaping and things of this nature that we've added at the town's request and through the site plan review process in general that's there. I'm not sure that we were expecting to come and present anything new today. Our understanding was that because of the public comment that the board wanted a second to maybe gather their thoughts and then provide me some direction, which is fine. I was able to talk to them a little bit about the architecture and the desire to have a little bit different facade. And they did provide me a sample that they would be willing to do if the board wants to look at specifically architecture to those types of things, so I could hand that out if relevant. We did provide a building design initially, and then we revised that. And that's on file and was presented at the last meeting. There's two more topics that came up, or three more topics in general that I was able to glean from the comments that were provided. Property values will be negatively impacted. Again, this kind of goes back to the first one where we wouldn't propose something that isn't allowed, right? So this is something that the town has zoned that can be here. It is next to other established businesses. So one business impacting a property value versus, three or four others that are in the area. Again, we're just kind of going by the factual zone code of what's allowed in the zone. Traffic was another comment that seemed to keep coming up in the written comments. And so as far as traffic goes, again, those comments, a lot of them were written prior to the presentation. So I just would like to reiterate that Dollar General is a local business where we're not going to be dragging new customers from, say, Ithaca up the hill here. There's other places for folks in Ithaca to shop. It's meant to serve the community. They don't really generate any new trips along that state highway. We can just take those existing travel trips off of that road. And then just like the water and sewer is very low, less than a residential house, or less than 100 gallons of water and sewer a day, very non-impactful. There's no odors associated with this business, no cooking, no cleaning of utensils, those types of things, food preparation. The amount of truck traffic that we get or generate would be very little on this. We would anticipate about one tractor trailer per week. That's about all that we would need. And then there would be some localized straight box trucks, and that's about it. So with us not dragging new trips in, we would not be anywhere near New York State DOT thresholds of significance. And our peak hour is in the 30 trips. So compared to other uses that are allowed in this zone, it would be a substantially less this dry retail goods business. Also, with this proposal was talked about some of the character and impacts visually to the area. So with that, I would like to note that we're 144.5 feet back from the road to the face of our building. So it's set back, and this is by design, by reviewing with this board and working with the land that we have. Plus, that doesn't even include the right of way. So if you include the green right of way, we're upwards of 160 feet back from the edge of pavement to the face of the building that's there. There was talk about the fence around the stormwater area out front, that it might be unsightly. And if that's something that the board wants to be removed, we certainly could consider something of that to help with the visual aspects of it. We just typically have those fences around, but doesn't mean necessarily it couldn't be done. And I think that covers the comments that I have read. I had a lot of reading to do over the last 2 days. Thank you for sending those along. I do appreciate that in advance of today's meeting. And I'm here tonight to answer any questions or comments that may come up. As I know that you had said that additional written comments would be submitted up until today to keep the public involved. And I'm answering anything that you may want me to add at this point as well.
So typically, when we have our discussion, we could ask him some questions now, but I think I'd rather hold it for when we have our discussion following the public comment period. It seems more.
I think.
Yeah. Yeah, let's do that. Yeah, so just hang tight,
The only question I have is, do we have any other design change?
not yet.
Well, if that's the case, I would like to make a motion to continue the public hearing until the next meeting. Because we don't have anything and the people out here can't see anything.
Can we, I'm not saying I'm in disagreeing with you, but let's save that until we talk with them during our discussion, because I'd like to see how quickly they could get us stuff, like, could they get us stuff within 2 weeks or after?
Okay, sounds good.
All right, thank you. All right, at this time, we will open up the public hearing. It is open, it's continuing since the last meeting. So I invite members of the public to come, make a comment, state your name and your address for the record. And you'll have 3 minutes.
Any hard copies?
Yeah, yeah.
Those are my hard copies.
All right, go ahead.
Hi, my name's Ross Johnson. I live with my family at 1535 Trumansburg Road. First, I wanted to open it up by saying if the board has any response to the letter that I sent back on July 21st. I asked about the zoning code 212-142.3-A. I also asked about zoning code 212-140-11. So real quick, do you guys have any response to my letter? I never received anything back from you guys. So
at this point, we're gathering all the public comments and we're using those.
okay,
In
so then I'll
making
continue
a
on.
determination.
All right. I want to point out Dollar General has yet again failed to comply with the board's request to in design options and what what you guys have previously asked for in regards to drawings and the like. Furthermore, I would like to draw your attention to zoning code 212-140-A5A2, where subsection A states that in determining whether to modify a standard for a proposed project, the planning board may take into consideration the following. In part 2 states the potential adverse impact on surrounding properties and the neighborhood of applying or not applying the standard to the proposed project. With that in mind, my family and I had a market analysis done of our house. And I would, which shows that if Dollar General was allowed to build where they're planning on building, my family and I would lose $49,000 in property value. Now, that's no small chunk of change. I'm sure that my neighbors would have the same decline in their property values. And how would that be beneficial to us as a community to lower our property values? I would also like to point out that in code 212-140-A2, the policy of the planning board is to consider land subdivisions as part of a plan for the orderly, efficient, and economical development of the town, and in a manner that is reasonable and in the best interest of the community. I put forth that the town does not want this, and it's not in our best interest to allow it. The town comprehensive plan states that in objective 2.2 under actions part C, that a review shed analysis is required to be completed for all new non-residential construction projects in order to preserve and protect scenic resources and open space characteristics. I request to have one done. Policy 3 states the town of Ulysses will balance the needs of its
30
residents
seconds.
and the environment with the benefits afforded by practical economic development practices that build on the unique characteristics of the community. We shall promote a diversified economy that builds and establish local industries, including agricultural production, tourism, and small business development. We acknowledge the potential for new industries in the town that are consistent with the ideas and principles in the community. Dollar General fits with none of what I just said. I will leave you with this, the vision statement for the town of Ulysses, which states that Ulysses is a rural community. Would it be allowable for my wife to yield her 3 minutes to me, just to finish this?
Would you want to?
Yes, my name is Amelia Christian and I reside at 1535 Trumansburg Road. I wish to yield my time to my husband, Ross Johnson.
Okay, thank you.
In a rural community in the Finger Lakes region that takes great pride in its agricultural heritage and character, natural resources, and small town atmosphere. Significant community features, including our farms and lake shores, make Ulysses a desirable location for residents and visitors alike. We will continue to celebrate and protect our unique resources by promoting efforts that support agricultural sustainability, open space conservation, and a balanced approach to economic development and revitalization of village and hamlet centers. We will strive to effectively balance future growth
with the conservation of key community assets through proactive planning in a manner that benefits all residents both today and in the future. Allowing Dollar General goes against the statement as it negatively affects my family and my neighbors. Also, to build on the rep's comments about drawing new trips in, saying that it won't. That's not factual. It would draw people in from the area from side streets that would regularly join 96 prior or after. They would draw them into that area, which already has enough traffic. It took me over 5 minutes to get out of my driveway to go 2 houses down to pick up my son from daycare today alone without having a Dollar General there. If I had a Dollar General there, it would take me way longer because it's directly kitty corner to where my house is, and having another intersection there would just devastate the traffic there and make it that much more unsafe for me and my 2-year-old. With that, I urge the board to vote no for this and consider all of my fellow neighbors' comments as well.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, could I ask him a question?
Yeah,
Do
Absolutely.
you have that
Yes, I do.
written from the real estate agent?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
All right. Dory? Would you like to make a comment?
Yes, I would, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. I'm Dorian Allman. I live on Willow Creek at 6140. In the 3-page letter I sent to the planner detailing my opposition to Dollar General's proposal, some of my concerns focused on issues outside the planning board's purview. Tonight, I'll share concerns relevant to the scope of the board's responsibility. The Town of Ulysses zoning law section 212-19 site plan review reads, the purpose is to provide for review and approval of development plans to ensure that land development occurs in harmony with surrounding uses without adversely impacting neighboring parcels and property values. The parcel of land Dollar General is eyeing lies directly across from the homes of 3 of our community's families. Pride of ownership is clearly demonstrated by the home's well-maintained appearances. It is difficult to believe the value of these homes will not be adversely affected should a dollar store be built right across the street from them. Staying with zoning, Section 212-142.3 reads, the planning board shall take into consideration the requirements of the community and the best use of the land being subdivided. Does the planning board really believe, should it approve Dollar General's proposal, this action considers community requirements and is the best interest of the land being subdivided? Finally, many sections of the town's comprehensive plan have relevance. I shall, however, discuss only one. It reads, specific policies related to the rural economy are of particular importance to the Town of Ulysses and include enhancing viability of existing farm operations, enhancing agricultural activities and working farms, encouraging development designed to preserve open space and agricultural land, protecting prime agricultural land. The land on which Dollar General proposes building is agricultural. It's part of a cornfield. How can the planning board, as community leaders, justify Dollar General's proposal when it supports none of the policies I detailed? Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to make a comment tonight? Yes, please come to the mic. Actually, can we bring the mic to you somehow? You're okay? Okay. All right, sounds good. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Sally Taylor. I live at 1541 Trumansburg Road, directly across the street from the proposed site. I have written 3 emails. Or, thank you, Niels, for forwarding the ones that you did. Oh, this is my husband, Donald Taylor, he lives with me, same place. I didn't get any kind of response at all from my emails, and being a rookie at this, I wasn't sure what to expect. I'm going to repeat some of my questions and concerns, just in case you've forgotten or maybe didn't read them. My main concern, well, I shouldn't say that, a big concern is need. Why do you think there's a need for a Dollar General when there are 2 Dollar Generals in our area? One is only 3.7 miles away in Mecklenburg, another 7 miles away in Trumansburg. And then we have also a convenience store 3 miles away, a produce market 4 miles away, Kinney Drug, Sure Save, and Home Dairy about 5 miles away. Even the architect said it was a stop-by operation. Well, people can stop by 3 miles up the road too, or 5 or 7. Okay, number 2, how can you balance the loss of residential property value, which we have just heard quite eloquently about, with the corporate greed of one of the highest net profit retailers in the country? Will the town or Dollar General reimburse us for our property loss? Please address the safety issue of the cars and delivery trucks turning in and out of the access road from and to Route 96. I can tell you for a fact, this is a very dangerous and high-speed stretch of road, and it's also a passing zone. For example, our mailman was stopped at our house facing north on the east side of the road yesterday, and a car, at the same time he stopped, a car came into the passing zone right in front of him and had to get out. You know, it could have been tragedy, but things like that happen all the time. I can't imagine what would happen with traffic trying to go in and out of a Dollar General. Number 4, how are you going to guarantee, according to the New York State Environmental Bill of Rights, the right, and this is in quotes, the right to clean air, water, and a healthful environment?
Would your husband like to yield his time? And if so, you state your name.
Don Taylor, 1541 Trumansburg Road.
Thank you. All right, go ahead.
Dollar General will create air pollution from cars and delivery trucks, and we've seen mega delivery trucks at other Dollar Generals. It's not just one little tractor trailer a week. Wastewater will leach into our sources of well water. Lights and signs will cause light pollution, and the garbage will end up in landfills. I will take this to New York State if need be. Did you know that Dollar General is the only national retailer on the Labor Department's severe violator list of companies with unsafe working conditions? During the last 2 years, OSHA has fined Dollar General $12.5 million, I'm sure it's a drop in the bucket for them, the most of any retailer in the country. And did you know that the Dollar General in Trumansburg has a staffing issue? Dollar General, in their write-up of their philosophy, claims to contribute to education in the communities it serves. How does Dollar General do this in the Trumansburg store? And how do you propose they will do it in this store? Thank you for your time and your consideration.
Thank you. Come on up.
Thanks, Sally, and everybody else. that has made
Can you
comments.
state your name and address,
Oh,
please?
my name is Maria Haight, 1539 Trimmed Brook Road.
Thank you.
As a lifetime resident of Ulysses, I've always loved Ulysses. From quaint rural centers like ours to charming village of Trumansburg, I've always felt safe here. And I always felt that the community, including the board, has always put first and foremost the community and the concerns and developments that happen in our town. So I need to point out other possibly negative implementations that haven't even been brought up yet, of a Dollar General being located across the street from our homes. In an article written by Kennedy Smith for ILSR, the Institute for Local Self-Reliance, Article 17 Problems, she speaks about how dollar stores can have a negative impact on residential property values, which in turn affects tax revenue. And she references a 2022 study by Clemson University found that the presence of a nearby dollar store diminished property values by just 16 to 21%. That makes sense. So if I had $100,000 home, now it's only going to be worth 80 or 85,000. Wow. This concern so many of our neighbors has. And she also speaks to municipal expenses, including police services at these crime risk stores. There's always people stealing from them. Alec McGillis, reporting for the New Yorker, found that dollar stores are the site of regular violence, and that according to the Gun Violence Archive, an independent nonprofit resource organization, 156 people were killed by guns at chain dollar stores between 2014 and 2021, and 329 others were injured. Is this really the type of business that we want to take that kind of chance with? We don't need crime. We don't need people moving from Ithaca and have that crime spread into the town of Ulysses. I don't think it's worth a chance. These problems are among so many other problems, and I think there is a major concern among Ulysses residents. Please vote no to Dollar General. Put a moratorium on it, whatever you need to do to further investigate the fact that what Dollar Generals do to communities. It's a real problem. And I really, really urge you to make sure to look into all these. I've given you a report, and I've also done a link to the articles about the dollar store invasion. And I would really, really appreciate it if you would read these articles and see how they affect communities. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have a hard copy of your notes?
I do.
Could we have that? Thank you. Is there anyone else here in the room or online that would like to make public comment on this application? Yes, please.
Charles Houpt, 1515 Trumansburg Road. My main concern is the traffic and safety. Likely a store would attract bike and pedestrian traffic. And I also think, the store might not attract traffic from Ithaca, but it will attract people turning in as they go to and from Ithaca and Trumansburg. And every time somebody tries to turn on a highway like this, it's dangerous, and so that's my main concern is traffic safety.
So would you mind stating your name one more time?
Charles Houpt, H-O-U-P-T. Yeah,
Great, thank you. Did you want to make a comment?
Yes.
Yeah.
This is a family affair. I'm Catherine Haupt. I'm at 1515 Trumansburg Road. You may know me as the lady on the chestnut horse. But my concern is actually safety of the pedestrians. We have several apartment complexes quite close to us, and they would be the people who are most likely to want to get a quart of milk or whatever they sell. And there are no sidewalks along Trumansburg Road, and no lights, no traffic lights. So I think that's something else that we consider, or is the safety of the potential customers. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any other comments in the room or online? Yes, please.
My name is Francis Durante. I live at 1537 Trumansburg Road, Ithaca, New York. Now, all these things have been stated, we've all been over, EP, all everything. But here is the fact. Dollar General, if you go online and look at their website, all right, they target areas where they're going to put stores. This is a fact. And for this area, they've targeted 6 places where they're going to put stores. And they're supposed to be in outlining areas, which they're achieving. And that's their agenda, okay? They just bought Fox General and to create one of the biggest monopolies there is. So they have enough money to make improvements as far as structure goes, but that's not going to happen because they're going to say Target has a front store that people identify with. Walmart has a front store designed that people identify with. But when you got a stock trading at over $300 some and creating a monopoly, how are we supposed to stop them with just all the facts that have been presented here? I mean, what's going to happen also, there is an apartment project down there at Cugamet, and that is low income housing over there. All right. We're gonna have to deal with that because what cattle do, they'll put a bus stop right up there. They'll bus them from there up there. And then you got more problems. Okay. And as far as traffic goes, there's always going to be traffic there and stuff like that. But there are several fields along 96 that head towards Jacksonville. When they could put it towards there, and they could have the post office, they could have Burned Dairy, and they could have the supermarket. And there's also Kenny Drugs over there. You've got people coming into T-Burg itself, you've got restaurants there and everything else. But no, they want us to take it way to the end of the county line, still out, and put it right there. For tax purposes, they chose that because they don't have to pay high taxes. They probably got a good tax rate. We don't know about that. There's a lot of things we don't know about. But what I have stated, and if you look on their website and you look about the stock and how many times they've been fined by OSHA, different things like that, that should reflect something, what they're bringing to the community. Do we really need this? And what's going to happen when these people start coming up the road here? Is our cars going to get broken into? Are they coming to shop? What are they coming for? And we all know what that brings. So in my estimate, we don't need it. And there's plenty of land down the road that they could get, but they chose that particular place. And I believe it's probably a done deal, and it's probably for the tax structure and for the money this company has. Thank you.
Are there any other comments in the room or online? So at this point, I'd like to move to discussion among the board and we can also ask the applicant some questions, and then we can address after we have a discussion and learn a little bit from the applicant as well, how much more time we need for public comment. So let's open this up. I would like to say thank you everyone for being here and for being involved in your town and for voicing your concerns. I have also, been, of course, digging into some of our code, and I'd just like to start the discussion with, some of the things that stood out to me about particularly site plan review. Just briefly. Code 212-19, site plan review, section 3. Letter B. For approval criteria for site plan review, the project shall be sited and designed so as to be harmonious with the surrounding area and not interfere with the development, use, and enjoyment of adjacent property. In areas where agriculture is permitted use, the project should not have significant adverse impact upon the agricultural use of neighboring properties. So when I do look at this, I think about some of the design modifications that we've asked for in regard to the site being harmonious. I also think about some of the comments that, we have made, and some of the ones that we've also heard about, the fence up front. But then I also look at the broader comments, the broader concerns about like light pollution and property values as well being impacted. There is actually, so that's just to start off, and I'll open it up to the board.
The other one is also 212-19 D3.
3D, yep.
Yeah, and that's a detailed traffic study, a large development, because this is actually a large development for that area. We didn't ask for one, and I think we should.
Are you looking at 212-19 3D? I see project.
D, it's site plan information required.
Okay.
And then it's number 3.
Okay.
Okay. Let's see. So when you read the comprehensive plan, as it was mentioned by some of the audience, there are numerous places that focus on how important it is to, as you say, develop in harmony with the surroundings and protect the look and the economic viability of the town. And there's a lot of things that would, like, wow, the comments that are being made go against what the comprehensive plan says we would like to accomplish. We have to work with the ones that are kind of quantifiable. And to me, one of the ones that's particularly powerful is the issue of what you're doing to the taxes. And there's an actual statement, and you have an intercom plan about property values that need to be protected. And the nice young woman who brought up the issue of that article online to the Institute for Small Town Resilience or something like that, put a really nice summary of the 18 problems that are being caused by various dollar stores of different types, and then cited this paper on what it does to the economics of a community. And the issue of property values is not trivial. And so now, until I read this, it's like, well, unless we have data to prove that, it's going to, it's just somebody saying it, that, oh, I'm worried about my property value, but there's actually some reports and data to back that up. And in particular to have Ross, I think it was, so we did a tax assessment on our property and showed it will decrease. Yeah. That's pretty significant information.
Market analysis.
Yeah, market
$49,000 decrease.
And that's one house.
And
so
several houses
right,
there.
Right. You have based on who's here, you have a number of houses who then would be affected. That goes against what we're supposed to be doing. And that's, to me, very powerful reason to say, wow, we do not want this to happen. Many of the other statements about the store, its effect on the community, have been documented. So it's like, sorry, you're representing them, but the truth is, it doesn't have a good reputation in a number of ways. Your particular brand of retail doesn't have a great rep. So the issues they brought, that everyone have brought to our attention, and we're following up, so if you think we don't listen, we're listening,
Yeah.
all right? It's not around in these articles. To me, are very compelling, and it isn't just, okay, well, that's just 4 people in our whole town, maybe the rest of the town wants it, it's no, it's backed up by other, reports and stuff, so those things I find compelling to say, I don't think this, I think we've got some problems here about saying yes. Now, separate from that, or as we parallel this, where we were when we first started was, well, we have, let me find it. In our plan, our general here is. The purpose of the plan is to provide for the review and approval to ensure land development occurs in harmony with surrounding uses without adversely impacting neighborhood parcels or property values. That's part A of our site plan review. The landscape plan actually, where any parking lot is larger than 9 spaces, it must be screened by vegetated buffer yard. Where a proposed parking lot, where any parking lot is located within 50 feet and visible from a public right of way, the parking lot must be screened by vegetated buffer. I don't think that whole landscape plan section of our zoning, I don't think we actually made sure that the plans you are proposing fit that land, and it's landscape plan E. I don't think I have the actual bigger number, but 212 dash. Anyway, we'll find it, but it's landscape plans, part numbers 1 through 5, all talk about what the requirements are. And in our previous conversations with Chris, we didn't say, oh, look, where's your 50 feet, so, and we actually have a justification if it has to go that way.
Yeah.
So, I think the bigger picture of whether it's a good for the town and the community, and with evidence that it could severely impact the economics. And the last one is the comprehensive plan talks a lot about the gateway to the town and protecting in ways to make that better, not weaker. And so I feel like this is part of that gateway. And so, yes, we did create an office of mixed use for the purpose of having light industry and all, but this doesn't quite fit that of what the intent was. It's, I mean, it said and associated services, but it's, we already got other similar things. So I'm
Something that really stood out to
comfortable
me.
with it.
Yeah. Was, when I was looking at some of the criteria, is there a need, right? Now that is in a special permit section, but that's also something to be considered within, comprehensive plan. Like, is there a need? And a lot of people have spoken to the fact that there are other Dollar Generals very close by. There's also indie drugs, there are other things, so it really doesn't, fill a need that's apparent, given the size of our town and the multitude of other opportunities.
Yeah, if you were gonna do it for need, you would need to pick a place where maybe people can walk to or ride bikes to.
Well, it's safety,
but-
there is
yeah,
no
the whole
sidewalks,
safety
there's no bike path there, there's no nothing.
Nothing.
It's the only way you get
Plop in
to
the
it is
middle
by
of a
car.
field. Yeah,
Right.
right.
Yeah.
And it's really jarring when you go along there because it's just in front of, a lot of really nice residences, which is really startling. If you look at the one on the other end of Trumansburg, it's in a much more industrial area to begin with, and is not at all as jarring as this one's going to be in the middle of a field that's been there for a long time. The other thing that we haven't really addressed yet, I don't think, is the lighting situation. Because, maybe you all have, but I haven't really looked, and I have some concerns about the lighting, the light, and how that plays out. And I think the 239 review had some recommendations on it.
It's for like downcast lighting.
Downcasting, and which is part of our zoning
Right.
anyway,
Right.
so we need to look at that.
Yeah.
If we go ahead, but I think the other thing that I picked up from the comprehensive plan, which was, I think, and we've done this before when we looked at a property that was trying to go onto 96, about what other properties are there in the area that could be used that are already built, rather than building a brand new property and taking up farmland to do it. Is there a building somewhere else? And I don't know if you can say anything to that. Have they looked at other properties that could be
Well, yeah,
adopted?
let's ask them up here in just a second.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah.
One of the things that stood out to me as well is, For site plan review criteria, this is 212-19, 2F. Protection of adjacent neighboring properties from any undue disturbance, which includes glare. And I think about, I was just driving through a small town last night and, I remember asking, when will the lights be on at the Dollar General that you're proposing? And I forget her name, the woman that was here earlier said, oh, the lights will be turned off when the store closes. And so I was driving through, I think it was whatever, it was like 96. And there was a Dollar General and all the lights in the store were off. And the sign out front was off, but the big Dollar General was like, it was lit right up all night, and there's houses across the street and it really changes, the character.
Oh, yeah, and if you have a house with a bedroom across the street from a light like
Yeah.
that. Or you want to sit out on your front
Yeah.
porch or something, that's an impact. Yeah,
Yeah. So, yeah, go ahead.
yeah.
I mean, it's zoned, I'm playing kind of not devil's advocate, but the facts are it's zoned office mixed in. Something else will probably go there. I mean, that's what that whole area is for. I mean, personally, the fact that we have prime farmland, well, the Southwest is burning up and I think all ag is moving here. It's like nothing should be built there, but it's zoned and something will. So you have to kind of look at it. We're really focused on this Dollar General. All right, because other things, it could be a McDonald's comes in, all right, there's no other, anything like it nearby, maybe, so that may end up being there because it doesn't have these problems, but these problems are sufficient. I mean, to me, these are affecting the property values of across and the sense of the community in that area. The safety issues without sidewalks or biking that people would need to get there. The lighting issue, we would have to put up. I mean, if you choose to have it, we're gonna put a lot of restrictions, like, well, the lights have to go off at 9 o'clock or whatever, we're gonna have to kind of try to control some of those, but we're not gonna be able to affect like the property value, so.
The property values are huge. Go ahead, keep
Yeah.
talking.
I was looking at the zoning and it, and I don't know if this is really relevant, but what's the mixed use zone that's there incorporates that area without a consideration for what's on the other side of the road. And it was to put two areas together that were already developed. And so to pick up that land and make it a contiguous space. And I don't know if it was thought through at the time, what that was going to result in, or what the implications of it. Put it that way. Yeah, and I think that's part of our purview is to keep that kind of thing in under consideration.
Yeah.
Because zoning is an imprecise art, because we have to go by parcels.
Right.
And it's not easy to come up with the right zones for everywhere,
So 2 examples, I can't remember, I mean, this is before you guys' time, but there's a 2 or 3 level building that's set back from the road. They put a silo at the end. It looks like a silo, but that's an elevator. Ended up being like a cybersecurity business. But when it was being proposed, so it's this governmental cybersecurity thing, we were really paying attention to what's it look like and how's it going to affect things. And so it was set way back. They put that's where the staircase was put in there. We wanted to look more barn-like, so it actually fit more into.
Nothing like that with the original proposal.
You remember that?
Like
Yeah,
office building.
yeah, so, right, look, very, right, opposite. So we influence that, whole system did not stand out too much, and it doesn't really like affect traffic. It really worked. I don't know if they're still there, I don't know. Before my time, the building right before you cross the creek to Gannett Creek up in there's a whole prosthetics construction building right behind this building that looks like where you get these for tractors, and that's actually for the same reason. It was, how do we protect the gateway to the town to keep this rural feel? So we have done this successfully in the past. It takes courage, but it's worth it where we've done it successfully. So I think it's worth saying, look, this is that important to us that we don't want to affect these pieces of our community.
In the comp plan also, you should read the office and technology mixed use, which they put in 2009. They did say commercial lodging accommodations and commercial and service business. But in our zoning, there's a whole list of items that are not listed here. Commercial could be anything from an oil rig to a lemonade stand, really. So on the comp plan, they didn't really
Yeah.
say what is in that area. It was put into the zoning
Yeah.
at some point.
I mean, yeah, and it is in the zoning at this point.
At this point,
Yeah.
right, but not in the original comp plan.
Uh-huh.
So they would have said if it was retail, because they just say commercial. And commercial is a broad range.
Oh, right. Yeah. Okay.
Um, are you all ready to, I would like, if y'all ready with, so I would like to invite you to, you know, either come and speak to us right now, or take these concerns for, you know, property values, for glare,
Buffers
buffers
along the road, yep.
for character of the neighborhood, you know, in particular, the residences across the street. Yes, you can look to the left and see Renovis, right? Which is set quite far back. The parking is behind. They have mature trees out front. They have a demure sign, no sign on the road. Like, they're an example of somebody that did something fairly well.
Yeah.
You know, you can look over at Mike's Marine. They have a large, they're set way back. They have a large buffer of trees that he planted just a couple years ago. And have a response to some of these. And you are welcome to, you know, respond now if you like about property values, or you know, because that is a really important concern. I mean, people have invested their livelihoods into developing their homes, and to lose so much value. I mean, that's striking, $49,000, you know. That's really significant. So yeah,
Also looking at other inventory.
yeah, other inventory, like other
Other
locations.
locations.
Yeah.
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 On the 96 corridor management review that they had, the suggestions were Jacksonville, Cayuga Medical Center area, and also the town here.
Right, exactly.
Yes,
Yeah.
but during the rest of it, they really didn't. They said
Yeah.
not so much development in that area, because it was mostly farmland. And they did say that South 96 had some very good farmland, some of the best in the area.
Yeah, and pedestrian safety is a real issue too. I mean, there are several apartment buildings just down the way, and people will definitely be walking. You know, and there's, as soon as you come over the crest of a hill. So yeah, you were about to get up.
Sorry.
Yeah. So I appreciate this. I think at the end of the last meeting, you had said that you wanted a couple weeks to gather your thoughts and
Yes,
provide us
yeah.
direction. So I think that you've provided us some direction here today, that we can pull some additional information and present it here and submit it. A couple of things, though, just coming out of this is we have to stick to site plan issues, right? That's here, because we are working with zoning, which is a legal document. And a lot of thought goes into zoning maps. This is not something that just gets done willy-nilly. It involves town boards, there's public hearings, there's charrettes about where zoning districts will lie. The comprehensive plan was put in place for that. Zoning map was generated as part of that. And this is a commercial zone that we're in. We picked this location because we are in an allowed use. So while there may be other allowed use places, I don't know where they would be, but this is an allowed use. And in America, we have to be careful that we don't try to select our neighbors, right? If it fits in the zoning code, it fits. We're not allowed to kind of look at, well, we don't like the color of that car, and we don't want anybody to drive that car in this neighborhood, right? So as far as property value goes, we really can't submit too much about that. We can address all the site plan issues that are there. The time for property values is when the zoning gets put in place, and all of that thought that goes into the zoning at that time, they go through full environmental impact statements. When you look at zoning, that's a much bigger issue. Those things have been vetted, where traffic would be, where full build out would be, where the town desires commercial, where the town desires residential. It's very well thought out. So we will take a look at how far the other businesses are set back. Try to comply with those to be consistent with the area. We will look at the buffering and the landscape code that's there to try to be consistent. We will look at the lighting and make sure that our lighting is consistent. And we understand that the board may put restrictions on lighting and things of this nature. As mentioned, that makes sense to make sure. And we want to be a good neighbor. I mean, that's the part of this as far as public comment, absorbing it, making sure that we can amend the plan and respond to those things that you've requested us to do with lighting, glare, landscaping buffers.
Vegetative screen.
Vegetative screen. Yeah, we can start working on those things. So that we can come back for, site plan review and make sure that everybody's comments are heard. But this is a great site. There's plenty of room. There's very limited water and sewer use compared to any of the other uses that are allowed there. Limited electric use compared to any of the other uses that could be constructed there. We're not a 24-hour operation, which other uses that are allowed there could be. So what we really are doing is working with the town code. We're not trying to force something that isn't allowed. We're not asking for any variances. We're not asking for any use variances, any zoning variances, bulk area requirements, setbacks, landscaping. We want to comply and be and fit in. We want to fit in, right? And that's what the code's there to do, is to provide us the guidelines to fit in. So I do appreciate the direction that you've provided, and we'll go ahead and make those plan revisions, and then we can return.
But we want the traffic study.
Yeah.
Because this issue
Yeah.
about pedestrian
It's-
safety really worries me.
It does.
And so if we have to have sidewalks put in, the town has to pay for that?
Yes, a great question.
Yeah.
And like a traffic light or anything else, that all comes up. So I want a traffic study that includes pedestrian use, like what is the number of people that normally come
Yeah.
with apartments within, a quarter mile, because if there's gonna be people trying to cross the road, that's
Yeah.
hugely important. So I would some kind of traffic study that takes that into account.
Yeah.
And that is, we can request that.
Yeah, no, I think we are requesting that.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying we can.
Yes, yes. Yeah, it's a great point. I also think that some of the other parts of the town have.
On the traffic study, it is, because I have it outlined, it's D3, and in there they want. They would explain what they want, what we want for the traffic study, which not just how many cars are coming and going, all the intersections, all the driveways, all the residentials.
Does it
everything.
include pedestrian traffic? I think that's a not trivial key.
Yeah.
But, yeah,
Pedestrian.
What part of that?
how do you know? Because it isn't pedestrian today.
You said D3, what?
Oh,
what
I'm
code-
sorry,
what part
that's,
of it?
it's 212-19, and it is B, and it is number 3.
All right. Right. Some of our other parks in the town do encourage or require parking to be set. It's not visible to the road, that's around the back. Renovis does that. That's also like part of the zone for the Hamlet of Jacksonville. And that can also mitigate some of the issues of how it of appearance, and that's something to consider as well.
The more direction that this board can provide now, the better, because we're agreeing to make the changes that are necessary. So what you're reviewing and what was mentioned on some stuff is, special permit, which we're not.
Right.
If you want us to go above and beyond what the code requires, which is something that you're talking about, I'm open to listening to those things.
I think it's in the code. I think it's.
We didn't ask anything for a special
That's
permit.
for. special-
Traffic study is part of site plan
Right,
review.
But what I was talking about was
The
putting
parking?
parking somewhere other than visible. from
Oh,
the road.
okay.
Yeah.
Which is
Okay.
not required for
I thought it
office or
was.
technology and mixed use, but it is. in
We
the
can
ambit-
certainly consider it. So,
Yeah,
instead of,
Yeah.
if there is a special request like this, right now's the time, I would love to hear any of them. And if we can accommodate any special requests, we'll go above and beyond, for sure.
okay, okay.
Hmm.
So, obviously, the appearance doesn't mitigate a lot of the concerns that were raised, like the traffic, pedestrian safety, property value, lighting, I think. Safety, right. So I do think that, but any changes that you do make to the appearance that reduce glare, that reduce the appearance of, the box store appearance that a Dollar General has, it really is, sort of an eyesore when looked at next to the beautiful houses that are across the street, right? No offense, but I'm just saying, somebody's lawn, somebody's house, it's really quite different. Anything that Dollar General can do to soften that, slope crews, parking in back potentially, no chain link fence right up near the road. Those are things that stand out to me as sort of the most egregious is that chain link fence, the parking right there, just.
Yeah, so my thinking on the,
I'm not saying that mitigates everything. It doesn't.
no, I know, because I'm getting back to I'm thinking of the property
Yeah,
value.
I know.
If it. The property value impact a lot of times could be because they are very characteristically a box set in the middle of something. And yeah, that's gonna ruin if you've got a nice house sitting across the road. But if it doesn't look like that and it looks a little different and still can perform the business function, it might have less of it hopefully would have no impact on the
Yeah,
property
I mean, I
value.
think there are things that could successfully be built there and not have the same kind of negative impact that. We see and that has been expressed with the Dollar General.
Right.
Yeah, and that's a really good point that you bring up about, there's studies that are done, there's comments that have been provided prior to the presentation, and to your point, these market studies and things that are done without the benefit of knowing what the work is that's being happened here, that this thing may sit way back, that this thing may look gorgeous and is going to be an asset to the community.
Right.
A lot of times people just go online and look at the Dollar General that's in a strip mall center that isn't very attractive, and there's a shopping cart out in the front.
Or the one that's 3 miles up the road.
Well,
from us.
I mean,
Exactly.
not to-
We're here to make sure that it looks really, really, really
Yeah.
good and
Because
works with the.
the one that you presented really does look like, the one up the road, which is not attractive, and it does present, those kinds of eyesore issues that, certainly doesn't fit in with the community and certainly lowers property values in its own right.
Yeah, again, though, if, we can't. Doesn't make sense to locate this thing further back, screen it,
So nobody can.
so nobody can see it, and then build a nice building,
Yeah. And you do have them around the state. I mean, I just drove back from Vermont. I saw 3 Dollar Generals that had taken on a nice kind of barn-like appearance, set them back, had a nice screening. People knew they were there. I don't agree that
Yeah,
it has to look like this. I mean, it's,
Right,
yeah. Like as we go through our comp plan, we don't have right now aesthetic appearance as a requirement.
Right.
I'm gonna push hard that we do, because if we had that as a guide, you wouldn't even be here. You'd say, oh, no, we know it has to look good because it's a rule for your town. And because it's not, you're kind of trying to get, you presented to us the worst look. Oh, here's the cheap version, the little box. So if we have, we'll get aesthetic guide rules into our.
I will say though that it does have harmonious with, with the neighborhood. fit in with the character. I mean, those are some of the parts of the zoning that
Zoning,
that
yeah.
event.
Yeah,
we cited.
right, yeah,
So
okay,
it
okay,
is
so we
in
can
there.
use
It's
that,
just-
that's,
Yeah.
It doesn't
right.
lay it out by you have to have X amount of windows and X.
right, right.
It does in
Make sure we
certain
do say
parts.
harmonious,
It
right?
does in the hamlet of Jacksonville.
Yeah,
too,
yeah,
like,
yeah,
if
we
you're
do.
gonna put
Okay,
in
so
a
actually we
drive-through,
need to
it
use
says,
that.
you need X amount of window
Okay.
space on the front of your building.
Okay,
That's not Office of Technology Mixed Use, that's, the hamlet.
good point.
but-
You're right, we do have
It's-
that.
You do have that in other parts. Yes, Rich.
So, yeah, we can stand by
I had
that.
a
Yep.
general question, maybe we need a debate or a lawyer for this. Yes. But given the ranking and the complaints and the $12.5 million lawsuit or whatever labor problems they've had, can we take that into account in granting a permit? Given they're saying they're a high-minded corporate citizen, but if all the allegations are true, they're not. So I mean, personally, I don't want to be a part of a company that comes here that has those kind of labor practices.
Rich, I feel like our comprehensive plan asks us to consider, is this sort of good for Jacksonville? I feel like that's where we have some grounding.
So I think that's really important to keep up here.
Yeah.
And all these details
I agree.
have the answer to that high-minded level.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, and the one thing that we have to be careful of is to deal in facts. So we're here, we're gonna do a traffic study. These are licensed professionals in New York State. We provide information, it's documented. We can't just stand here and quote things from the internet, right? So while you're mentioning that there may be or there may not be articles out there, that's very possible that there are. But I can tell you right now, standing here, the Dollar General stock price isn't anywhere near $300. It's more down like 160. So when you hear facts that are just spread out, you got to filter through it, and that's what we're here for, is to make sure that we're submitting factual information, drawings,
That's good. Tell us
details.
about the OSHA one, because I
Yeah.
was looking up some of the stuff about the property values and the economics of the towns, and there are some scientific studies on that, in general, the dollar stores, but I didn't. They do mention this OSHA study showing that you have very poor labor. You have $12 million in litigation against you.
Severe violator
No
status. So
severe
can you-
violator. So
can
are you saying that's
tell
not
us about
true?
that?
Yeah, and so I'm not a representative of Dollar General, so I'm not familiar with those situations and those working aspects of it. So we're an engineering firm that's working for GDP for site plan review. So I'm not up to speed on the operations aspect of I'm not a Dollar General.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. But then we obviously we care about that, so we'll have to look into that.
Yeah. Any other questions for the applicant? No. Okay.
Okay, so what's the path forward?
So the path forward,
Exactly.
I would say, because we're asking for a lot, right? And you said we're willing to go above and beyond. There are also a lot of concerns that the public has raised that we're also going to be considering, we're also going to be considering some of the things that Rich mentioned as well. Is this good? Is this good for the town in the sense of, does it jive with our comprehensive plan and sort of how we want the town to develop? So I would say that if we keep the public hearing open and put it, at least put it on the calendar for our first meeting next month. That would hopefully give you time to get what you need, but maybe not. Maybe that's not long
I
enough.
think we should do it for September, the first week in September. because
That's
that
what
gives
I meant.
them-
I meant September.
Oh, you meant
Our first-
September.
Our first.
Because we're
meeting
in
next
August
month.
now.
Oh, okay, you didn't say, you said next meeting.
No, I said,
Next
I thought I said our first meeting next month.
Yeah, in September, yes, because that gives them several.
That's
weeks
probably
to
not
come
enough
up with
time,
something.
though, because we're asking for.
Yeah,
traffic,
so what you're
that takes
asking
time.
is for the developer to probably invest another $30,000 and then coming back to you with those
Yeah.
results. So, there's a lot of work that has to get done. Consultants that need to be hired, and obviously more investment digs in deeper. So you're happy to do it.
We
We might need a little bit more time.
We can keep the public comment period open and we can wait for you to submit your studies, your documentation, your designs, and they have to be submitted at least 2 weeks prior to, is that right, Niels, or is it longer?
So it's 2 weeks, but there's a common thread in both the BZA and the planning board is not enough public comment period
Yeah.
time. And so when we do back to back like last week, there's
Okay,
not enough time late to do, so
okay,
at least say 3 weeks.
Okay.
past the Meeting.
okay, so.
I can make a
Let's-
motion for that.
Yeah, let's do that.
To which date?
So, well, basically, we're gonna put it on you to. Get the
Can I ask a
study.
Question real quick,
Yes, you can.
does the 62-day rule apply?
It applies when the public comment period ends.
When it
Yes.
ends?
That's
Okay.
why,
I just wanted
that's
to
why it's
clarify
being
that.
kept open until we can get
Okay.
our information.
Well, and also because we want the public to be able to comment
Right,
on the
exactly.
additional information that you gave. It's only fair that folks get to see
Wanted to
what it is
clarify
you're
that.
presenting. We're not trying to do anything here to stretch it out. What we're doing is giving people an opportunity to really respond to what it is that you have. So I would say have the study, get everything that you can, put together and design, et cetera, and give it to us. And it needs to be, at least 3 weeks prior to the next planning board meeting. So, if you got us the stuff, on October 1st, right? We would be putting you on for the November 1st planning board meeting.
How would that motion read then? Until we get the information, 3 weeks after we get the information, we'll have the meeting.
I think that for the motion, we could simply make a motion to keep the public comment period open and that we will schedule an additional planning board meeting no less than 3 weeks after receipt of additional material.
How about we just have keep the public meeting open till the next meeting, and then we can continue it from there.
How about this? How about we keep the public comment period open until the next until the next review of this application.
What I would suggest,
Yeah.
and we've seen this with other towns, is whatever that meeting is in August, we can keep it open till then, and if we're not ready, we'll submit a letter to just as we request to be tabled.
We're
Well,
gonna
it'll be September.
Yeah, yeah.
Or
so-
September,
So,
Yeah,
Yeah,
well, that's what I was saying. We would keep it open until September. And if we don't have the information, we continue it to the next month. That's all.
Yeah, but put that in writing,
Think
say
that-
contingent on the information requested has been provided.
yeah, I would rather just say we're gonna keep the public comment period open until the information requested has been provided and presented and not attach it to a meeting.
Yep.
Because what if the building floods and we don't have that meeting?
Yeah.
Then the public comment periods are closed, right? I don't
Yep.
wanna do that.
Oh, I like that.
Oh.
Okay.
Zoom.
I'll make that
I like
motion.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Yep.
Any discussion? All in favor?
I,
perfect.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Can I ask another question?
I would ask you to wait.
It would be fair.
I'm gonna ask you to wait for a privilege on the floor. Because it may not be a fast answer.
No,
The answer may be long, so I'm gonna say no, you need to wait for privilege on the floor, but I appreciate your patience. So our next item of business tonight is a new women's residential addiction recovery center. Site plan, special permit
okay.
review. So I want to welcome you. And I just want to, you were in front of the BZA.
I was, yes, exactly.
And I feel like what came out of the BZA wasn't necessarily conclusive. So could you sort of give us an update of what happened between the last time we saw you and now? But before you do that, no, that's fine. I mean, I think we're all on board. This is not a public hearing, so you don't need to explain your whole thing. So go ahead
Sure,
and introduce yourself.
of course. Oh, Wendy Marsh with Hancock Estabrook. I'm an attorney that represents cars. And I do understand that this project has been before the planning board without me here in May and June. And since that time, we have appeared in front of the BZA relative to the area variances that are required for the project. And as part of that process, the project change that's happened is the design now accommodates the 500-year storm, which was not the case when the application was here before you previously. And it is now part of the design, and the revised site plans have been submitted. And we did have our appearance in front of the BZA, and they understand that that is part of the project. And the BZA will be holding the public hearing on the 2 area variances that are required on the 16th. And we asked the BZA, would they be comfortable if we came back to the planning board and explained the change in the design since we were before you previously in May and June. And our request to the planning board would be, are we in a position to be able to proceed with scheduling the public hearing? So that's where.
So
framing it
my
first.
question to my board members would be. So our meeting would be on the 15th of, you're talking about the 15th, you're going on the 16th of August, you're going in front of the BZA.
Correct.
And I was at the BZA meeting, so I heard them say what she just said.
Was it relatively accurate?
Yeah,
Great.
you're right on. And so basically they said, yes, you can, go to the planning board because, we feel like you're in a position to do the hearing. So I guess, our question would be, can we do a public hearing in 2 weeks? And if we did a resolution, I think it would have to have, an adjoiner saying this is contingent upon the variances being granted.
Well, what, so we'd be doing it before the BZA did their hearing?
We would be doing it, yeah, we would. Yeah.
That doesn't, I mean, it's unlikely given everything that's been done, but something could come out of it.
And do we have all the plans? Because I only have the old plans. I don't know are there any new plans?
Yes,
Yeah.
I think we're submitted about a month ago.
Yeah, we got it.
Yeah.
And the only change is to accommodate the 500-year storm.
No, and that change, I mean, I feel like. With the new plans, I did get them, I did look at them, but. Is to accommodate the 500-year storm, was there a significant change in in the landscape?
Yes, we do have our design team if we want to go through that, from my perspective, there was no change to the building or the lot coverage. It was all with regard to managing that. And we do have Kristen here to be able to walk through those changes if you wanted to do that.
Would you do that, Kristen?
I'm here.
Right.
Okay.
I'm here, and I got to tell you guys, I have you on my living room TV, which is a 100-inch TV. I feel like I'm there with you.
Oh, great. Well, Kristen, you're a little box with your name in it. Are you able to, bring up your video that that would just.
Okay, so do you have, I can bring up the plan, or Niels, do you have a plan that you could put up? Or just, how do you guys, or do you want me to just verbally walk you through it? Because it really, there was not a significant amount of physical changes that we can identify on the plan. The work that had to be done was to make sure that the 500-year storm worked with the new design, but we also had to consider that the buffer setback from the creek, and some other things that came up out of the previous reviews. So our very original approved plan.
Anybody need a hard copy? One second, Kristen, I just have a couple of hard copies just in case anybody.
I just wanted to look at it and see if I have this.
So and I'm looking at so the one that I have is from our May 2nd meeting. Is that?
No, there was one just submitted a month ago.
June 13th.
June 13th.
Well, that's the date on.
All right, so I'll need to.
This is kind of an extra copy. This is kind of the cheat sheet that I use, so it's not everything, but if that's helpful.
Well, then I could share it with fire.
That's just a hard copy of this one, and then here's
July 13th.
a hard copy of the full one that was circulated. Great, thanks, Kristen. I just wanted to make sure.
That's okay. Okay, so Chairman, what would you like me to do, Mr. Chairman? You want me to quickly explain?
I would like you to just walk through the changes in the plan.
And Kristen, the cheat sheet that I usually use is, they have in front of them the site utility plan. I'm not sure if that's the best one, which is 101.
Yeah, no, that's pretty good. The only thing that's not on that site utility plan is grading. So if we do get into a discussion on grading, you just may have to flip to that sheet.
Sure.
But so in a nutshell, as you know, the history of it, we were hoping to proceed without a design of stormwater that accommodated the 500-year storm. The team then went through further discussion with the BZA and things, and now the 500-year storm is staying. So the 500-year storm was a part of the original site plan that was approved previously. So we had that plan all done and all those calcs done. The building became smaller, and there were some other changes made, like the pavement was removed and things like that, all that have an effect on the stormwater design. So we redid the 500-year storm calculations and revised the pond to be for this current layout. And it also had to be outside of the 25-foot buffer for the creek there. And then there were some, we have the cistern that's now on the plan. So there were a couple little things that changed just to accommodate, and we kind of call it from an engineering standpoint. There's really nothing significant that I can recall from a planning standpoint that would impact your previous thoughts on the project. It's all exactly the same. That's a quick overview. The pond itself is a detention pond that'll only have water in it during the significant storm events. We've tried our best to make it something that visually will blend in with the landscape when there isn't any water in it. The last thing that people want to see is a big hole in the ground and, like a quagmire. So I think the plan that you're looking at really wraps all of that up.
Yeah, it looks mostly like the main change was the dry detention area.
Yep, exactly.
Are there
And then the
changes
swale
that I
along the
missed here?
north.
In the what? In the swale along the parking lot, right?
Yeah, along the north. The one that Rebecca brought up the buffers for. That
Where
area,
is
we
it?
had to tweak the grading a little bit.
Okay, I don't see a swale on this.
It's like
this
behind.
map.
It's not on the plan because it's not on our property. So what we did is we kept 25 feet off of our property line. That way we're sure we're 25 feet from the top of bank of that swale. It's just off the property to the north. So we figured if we were off our property line by 25 feet, we'd by default be 25 feet at least from the top of bank of that intermittent swale or intermittent stream.
So, so I was intrigued that you gave us a 540-page SWIP. And so I skimmed it, obviously. You obviously did a lot of modeling to figure out, the 1, 10, 100, 500-year storm amounts, and you have somebody good on staff who uses the software. Map 45, I mean, the ditches take everything, so everything ends up in the ditches. So for me, as somebody who does ditches, it's like, well, okay, that's where all the water goes. It looks like you've done your due diligence. I mean, you figured out how much is it going to be and where's it going to go. There was one of your analyses where it said, hint, this segment 3 will be exceeded by 159% under a 100-year storm, but then none of the others seem to say there were going to be any problems. So it seems like you've done your work to come up with a solution for your stormwater that will address the required 500-year storm. So I'm happy with what, from where we started when you weren't considering stream buffers and weren't really considering these big events. I feel like you've come quite a ways. I'm comfortable with the stormwater system. Again, it's 504 pages and half of it, some of it's DEC requirement stuff, but you put the time in. I mean, even changed the runoff curve number from 62 to 69 on handwritten calculations by somebody to show you were being careful. So I'm okay with the stormwater.
I have just a question on this plan. Maybe you can-
Oh, I don't know if I can answer it, but I'll.
What are these 4 items? Because they weren't on the original.
Sure.
Usually.
Hey, Kristen, can you talk about, what we're looking at is the SP 101 and the notes that you have in there up in the top northeast corner for one, looks like 4, 2, 3, 5, 8, 9, and 11.
Well, it's the 4 items that are shaded. Are those tanks? I know there's a fire tank that they put in, but There's 4 more items right there.
Do you see that, Kristen, which is right?
Yeah.
Do you know what those are?
I think, are we talking about the ones in the,
Next to the
yeah,
fire.
there's the
storage
tank.
tank.
You've got the cistern.
Yeah, oh, is that what those are, those 4 items?
Well, I
That
see
right
under-
there,
there's
those
an
No.
underground cistern, but then there's those 4. I see what you mean.
Yeah, right.
I can. You see that, Kristen, right to the left?
Yeah,
Okay.
Ivan, those are part of the cistern process, right?
No, actually, this is Ivan Garcia from Fontanese Architects.
Hi.
For those-
Hi, how are you? The series of 4 oval gradient air tanks, those are above ground propane tanks.
Oh,
That are gonna be
propane.
provided by the propane utility company, correct?
Okay.
Okay, because they weren't listed on the plan.
On the first version, It
No,
sounds
they
like-
were never on the first version, but on this one.
but on that, yeah,
On this one, it's not listed.
we've gone through quite a bit of design work.
And with that dry retention area, is that line that I'm seeing coming out of it, is that the drainage
Kristen, that's your
that's
question.
coming down the hill?
I didn't hear that.
Is that line
Chairman?
coming out of the dry detention area? Is that the drainage, the one going down the hill?
Yes.
Okay. Got it. And what does that connect to?
Where does it discharge to?
Yeah, I'm seeing a line, this black line. And it looks like.
Yes,
it just-
so what ends up happening is that the large storms get into that pond via bypass. And then it gets detained in that pond, so it gets throttled back. So the 500-year storm is detained. And then it goes out to the same pipe that all the other drainage goes to. And that would be the one that discharges at 23. It looks like it's numbered. That's the flared end. Okay, so you see that? 23 and 29.
So small.
Yeah, it is very small.
And they all go down to the ditch.
Okay. And it's retained in that pond. I see that.
Yep.
So the word is detained because.
Detained.
Because that means it slows it down,
Yeah.
right? It goes in there and it keeps filling up slowly and slowly.
Right.
If the rain stopped and no more
Yeah.
came in, it would
It's just gonna settle.
infiltrate.
Yeah.
But if there's a lot more rain,
Yeah.
it has to go somewhere. So they have an overflow that
Yeah,
goes
yeah,
into the pipe
which
or
is
what
built up.
that goes to the
Yeah,
ditch. So the ditch takes everything when there's excessive rain.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Okay.
and it's the way all these
That's how it
buildings are set up.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. Any other questions for the applicant? I guess my question to the board is, they've given us extensive application material. I feel like there is one thing that I would like, but my other, before I say that is, I feel like there's enough here to hold a public hearing in 2 weeks.
Yeah. I do too.
August 15th.
August 15th?
Yeah.
Oh,
Because we have all the applications.
Oh, okay, well,
Yeah.
yeah, okay, fine.
I do have a concern about, I've heard a lot about notification, right? I also know that this plan has been in the works for a very long time. And it's fairly well known, I believe. I feel like it's kind of it's been in the works since 2019.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we
I feel like it's a different situation than the last application.
we did the outreach to the neighbors previously before the application went as far as the approval, and we've re-engaged with the neighbors to let them know that, there will be public hearings, and if they have any questions on the design, so we're in the process of making sure that the neighbors.
Are able to, and I don't know if the town can ask this, Niels, but when we mail the letters, right? They go out and it could take 5 days to get there. And that's half of your 2-week period. Is cars able to, hand deliver?
Absolutely,
To-
and we have already started the hand
Yeah,
delivery of the information, but we can absolutely do
Okay.
whatever's necessary to
So
make
if we
sure.
email you the notification, I mean, we'll mail it too, because that's our.
Yes, you have to
Just to
bylaw.
get,
Yep, sure.
we'll do the signage, but
Speaking of things,
if you
yes.
could do that, within, today's Tuesday,
Yes.
right? I don't know how soon you could email her the notice.
I can do that by tomorrow. We can
Okay.
So would cars be able to hand deliver that?
Absolutely.
By the end of the week?
Yes, yep. And also, I believe, I assume the planning board would like, the notice to be in the yard
Yeah.
for the 10 days as well, so
Yeah,
we'll be sure to get that.
Yeah,
out.
There's a sign.
Yeah.
Yeah, and when I say the neighbors, it's. Our statute is, I think it's within 500.
Yeah,
feet.
it's 500 feet.
Mhm.
Go farther if you want.
Yeah, I'll
That
confirm the
would
list,
be
we'll make sure that we know
wise.
exactly,
Yeah.
who's getting the mailing to make sure that, that's hand delivered and also, we'll see where the neighbors that we've done outreach as well.
Yeah, okay.
Excuse me.
Could you please wait until the privilege of the floor at the end? I thank you. It's part of our rules.
Sure.
All right. So I would, any
I'll
other
make a
asks
motion.
from the applicant?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to hold the public meeting on the next meeting.
On
I mean,
our,
the public, yeah.
on our August 15th.
Right, August 15th.
Can I get a second?
Sure. Rob.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Thank you. Oh,
And you
you know what?
said you
There's
didn't have
one
an
thing
answer.
that I wanted was,
Sure.
you have a graphic of what the building looks like, right? I have not seen a graphic of what the whole site looks like with the new building. And I think for a public hearing, that's gonna go a long ways.
Yes.
Like,
And there
if
folks will
you
be
don't
here. in
have
person
that,
as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
there's gonna be a lot of, people will have questions that can't be answered. So as well as we'd like
It's a
to.
great suggestion.
Okay. Yeah, all right.
Thank
All
you
right,
for
thank
reading it.
you.
Swift. My name is board members read Swift.
All right.
Was that delivered?
I'll bet you and Karen could have some quite cocktail talks over this Swift.
Yeah, 500 pages, like,
Thank
oh,
you.
good.
Let's get back to our agenda here. I got off of it. Hold on. July. Okay. So, for our new business items, our MNS UB 2306-02 Ithaca DNYL LLC 2 lot land subdivision sketch plat review. Given that that is part and parcel of the Dollar General.
Yes. I'll make a motion to table it.
To table it.
We would like to discuss it, to keep the
process
going.
Okay,
I understand it can be tabled, but we certainly don't want to
okay.
put the
So
additional money.
is there something, would you like to say something about it?
Resolution.
No, we're gonna table
I want a home because
it. What's that?
where they put the property of the building, it's set back, they might have to buy their land.
Yeah, we're not gonna.
Okay,
approve it
I don't want,
tonight.
yeah,
We're gonna-
I don't want.
We're gonna table, it, but go ahead.
And that's the kind of information we want to talk
Well,
about
yeah.
so that we can get a clear direction.
Yeah.
On the
Yeah.
board. So we've submitted the information and it was on last time to do that.
Yeah,
Have you
we've
got
seen
any
it.
comments? We have clear direction now on the site plan as far as there's about 5 items that we need to dig into with lighting and traffic and wet landscaping, buffering, those types of things. Subdivision wise, we've submitted the subdivision plan. This is a very large parcel and we're just taking a small piece up by the state highway. And we're looking for any comments or direction that the board may have on our subdivision application.
When I look at your sketch plan, because these are combined, they are part and parcel of one and the other, so we are looking at them both. I part of why I see the retention pond and the parking area and the store all so close to the road is because you're really covering most of your lot area, with the store, with the parking lot, with the retention pond. The lot does seem a little small for what you're doing. Now, I know that you meet the requirements for coverage, right? I understand that. But looking at, setting it back further potentially to mitigate some of the other concerns, the lot does seem like it may be a little small. It may impede your ability to take some of these other things into account.
That was my take.
Yeah.
That's why it's,
Like
we gotta get this.
push
one
right
going.
up.
Yeah.
Up to the road.
Well, I make the motion to table it.
But did you have any other questions or comments for the board while we're discussing?
Oh, I think that provides some decent feedback. It's there for sure.
Okay.
Otherwise, it's a straightforward. subdivision, right?
Yeah,
No.
well,
You do?
Just a quick question or point of order. So this is sketch plot review,
yes.
so.
Oh,
if-
right. What else do we want?
Right.
Yeah, so I mean, typically with sketch plat review, you know, we
Okay,
want
for
to
the
look at,
subdivision.
we want to look at topography.
Yeah.
So a map that overlays, you know, both the topography of, you know, of the plot, but also, you know, I would say adjacent plots as well. I mean, we don't always have that, but given that this is something that's gonna have a lot of like coverage, you know what I mean? Like, it's gonna be a lot of, if it goes through, there's gonna be a lot of parking area, a lot of roof drainage, there's gonna be a lot of water moving off of it. So I think it would be helpful to know the topography of not just the lot that it's on, but also the adjacent lots.
So we have a list that's required, and
yes,
so
we do.
normally we have topography, any
Yeah.
wetlands or streams or
Yeah.
unique natural areas, buffers around the
Yeah.
streams, that was the problem with the previous one,
Yeah.
they didn't consider that.
Yeah.
So if you'll take the look at that list, that's,
Yeah.
you know, all you have here is this line drawing of
Yeah.
where it's located, so we require those other items in the sketch plan. So
Yeah.
if you would take a look at that list, it's pretty kind of
Yeah.
what we want.
Yeah, subdivision review checklist. Do you have a copy of this?
We do, and we've submitted all the topography and all of those information, a full survey. So
Okay.
we just cleaned it up for presentation purposes to
Okay.
show you,
Okay.
you know, quick and easy to parcel.
Okay, great.
Parceling it out.
Great, thank
But
you.
we can take a look at
Yeah, and then you know, obviously the completed and signed environmental assessment form. Agricultural data statement for properties containing or within 500 feet of a farm, which obviously, you know, this is part of a farm, so we need that. Copy of such
So the traffic plan, I mean, you can also ask for a traffic study for this, for a subdivision on a main highway, right?
I don't know the answer to that.
What would
I
it?
know we're already asking for it, but I'm just saying,
Yeah,
oh,
I feel like
if it's gonna overlap, might as well.
the other one would be more impactful though.
Yeah.
Like this is
Yeah, I'll
just
agree.
changing
I'm not-
lines.
I'm not trying to shift focus, it's
Yeah.
just like, wait, don't we require that, okay.
Um, Yeah, all right.
That's good.
Anything else?
Nope, thank you very much,
Yeah,
Chris.
thank
You've been
you.
very
Well,
helpful.
We still have a motion that
Yes.
we haven't voted on.
I made a motion to table this and
Okay,
handle it concurrently with
second it.
all, any discussion?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Yes,
Thank you.
All right,
Okay.
so, yeah, I don't have my computer today, so I'm just going through things a little.
Okay, great.
differently. Thank you. So here we go. Board liaison, do you have anything to report, Rich?
Yeah, I think you should go look at Dollar General. Google.
Thank you.
And I do think, so I'm not on the that one. Liaison for the planning board. And it occurs to me, discussion, I haven't really thought that. But what ability do towns have to reject or accept companies that are doing good or not doing good? In other words, can, like as a forward-looking thing in the comprehensive plan, can we draft something that actually is consistent with ESG?
There's
That's a
nothing-
great question, and it's a good one for Dave too. What is currently in our comprehensive plan? that
Because if you
considers
read
that?
this, there's no way, as an enlightened citizen, you would want this kind of employer in your town.
Yeah, and there's nothing I read in the comprehensive plan that says anything about the quality of the businesses that you put in place or makes a judgment call on that.
Well, it talks about need.
Yeah, it does.
Just need, but how do we?
Yeah, but not quality of the
Yeah.
business.
And I think as a forward-looking town, to preserve the quality of the town, we want good corporate citizens.
Yeah. Well, and,
Well, you're
and
the
is,
town board.
yeah, and is there any way of looking
Yeah.
at it to look at the tax revenue?
Well, I think there has to
Versus-
be. I mean,
But have we?
Tax revenue, we don't get it broken out by.
Parcel.
Right, no. We get a check.
All right.
Right. and
Is there
by rule of
anything
thumb,
else,
right, yeah.
Rich?
Wait, I have a quick, so we're all feeling very similar about this. So if we want to bring it to the board and say we want a consensus from you all about, I mean, you're the board, we're just the planning board, we make recommendations, you guys make. I mean, so why don't we propose that it goes to the board? I mean, maybe it'll be after the next.
For
hearing.
review after the next year. when we get
Yeah,
more
a
stuff
review
from
of
them.
the issues because of
We
significant
don't
amount
have
of.
anything in town law yet, but it's suggesting what I'm suggesting. Yeah, I think it has to be part of the comprehensive.
Yeah, but we
You
can't
know.
wait for that after this, but I mean, you're the board.
I could probably.
Rebecca,
Bring it up.
you know, sometimes the town board has asked the planning board to look at projects
Yeah.
and make comment. And I think this would be a good case where the town board could do that in reverse.
Yep.
The planning
Yeah.
board, I do think we should wait until.
Yeah,
I think we should wait until we have what they propose,
Yep.
but not necessarily, because actually there's been so much said
So
here.
much said.
So
but they
much said
don't- haven't
already.
heard it, so do we need to write a letter
Yeah.
saying, given the situation for the Dollar General with a significant public feedback and negative concerns,
Yeah.
raised concerning these different.
I
topics.
would, I mean, Rich, if you think that's something the town board would look at, I would accept a motion. That we request of the town board to review this application and make a comment with regard to. You know,
Safety.
comprehensive plan, safety, and we could list our
Yep.
concerns,
Neil, do you
traffic,
think that's
property
that's
value.
legal?
Oh, Nate's here, right? Is Nate here? Nate,
Nate's not-
yeah, he's.
Yeah,
oh,
it's
yeah.
here.
Nate,
Happy to look into that and provide you guys kind of my
am
opinion.
I going too far here and thinking about this?
Well, you know, Rich, it's a good question. I really need to just double check the research on it, and I'm not gonna advise the planning board or you in an open session about it.
All right,
Okay.
why don't we consider this at our next meeting?
Yep. Yep.
Sound good, Nate? We're
Yep.
gonna consider this at our next meeting. It's August 15th.
Yep, sounds good.
Cool.
And and
Thanks.
back to the point about the land. It was in our, it was in our minutes. How did we discuss this? To buy the land from Simon.
It was on Craft Road, but this is looking like it's on Crumbs Corners Road, and that made it confusing. So nobody tied
North
two and
Front
two together.
Road.
Yes, the parcel
All right.
is located
Wait,
on.
we are not there yet. All right, so,
Yeah,
I was
All
just
right.
reporting that this wasn't hidden from the homework.
so
It
wait.
wasn't, but
Wait, wait.
It could have been
I
probably
just-
more.
all right, we'll explain
All
it.
right,
I'll
so that's,
explain
so
it.
does that conclude our town liaisons report? Okay, so town liaison report is concluded. We are going to do another privilege of the floor. And so now, please take your 3 minutes and state your name and your business, your name and your address for the
2
record.
minutes while I run to the restroom, it's been 2 straight
We're
hours.
gonna pause. We're gonna take
Sorry.
a moment because I'm gonna do the same. I'll be right. I'll be right back. I'll be right back.
Rich, go finish. The issue was in the resolution. That's preference and the sign. They got. Put up on the corner where the flag is. And so, but no, but that's why we didn't really tie it to that either. I mean, I didn't, it's because I was at the town board meeting, so, but I had no. You said crap, so I, so. Yeah, so that's why.
And yes,
That's
I know,
why-
I've read. everything. Looking at it, it's really small. There's a problem.
Well, just like. Allows me. Previous on the regulations.
You know what's happening is
So in the second. Pick up another 3 minutes? That seemed quite great. The second privilege of everybody should sleep in your first now. Yeah, that's gonna take forever.
We do.
You allow
To have a second line.
Those things come up during the
Okay, fair enough.
stuff they get asked to. Okay.
We used to do it. We used to do that all the time.
It's a great area.
Just-
All right, we're gonna call back to order here. People have a seat. All right, so this is, we're opening up a second privilege of the floor, and if you'd like to approach the mic and state your name and address, and I'll start the timer, and thank you for your patience.
Yeah, I'm Dan Clement, I live at 5027 Du Bois Road. And thank you for opening this up again. I appreciate that, and I was a little passionate earlier, but it's the kind of thing that I think there are people in the area are passionate about, and it happened, we found out about it last minute and, indirectly from the neighborhood and such. So in any event, we own the land across the street from the proposed, from what the town is considering for soccer fields. We also, we rent that to a farmer. We have for years, and also across the street on Du Bois Road, big field there we rent. The reason, primary reason we do that is to try to keep agriculture going in the area and to help promote it. So this project, and also I've been involved with soccer. I've been a registrar on 2 local soccer clubs and manager for my kids' soccer teams. Anyway, bottom line is I think this is energy misdirected. I think it's not the right place for a soccer field. Areas residential, residential agricultural area, and this is neither agricultural nor residential. The vision statement in the comprehensive plan says Ulysses is a rural community in the Finger Lakes region that takes great pride in its agricultural heritage and character, natural resources, and small town atmosphere. Significant community features include our farms and lakeshore, making Ulysses a desirable location for residents and visitors alike. We will continue to celebrate and protect our unique resources by providing efforts that support agriculture sustainability, open space conservation, and a balanced approach to economic development. I'll stop there. And then the standard for set flag lots in the town says in areas where agriculture is the predominant land use, particular AR and R zone flag zones, flag lots should be located on the least productive agricultural lands and be configured so as to minimize interference with the agricultural use of the land.
30 seconds.
Okay. The land is being considered from where I'll leave a copy with you.
Thank you.
So according to the soil maps, there's 3 kinds of, some of the land is prime farmland if drained. Another one is all areas are prime farmland. Another part is prime farmland if drained. So if it's drained, it's good farmland and couldn't be used for this purpose. If it's not drained, I'm going to be putting a lot of money into draining it. I guess I'll stop there. It's a quiet neighborhood, and and we go walking around the block and we run into 2 or 3 cars in an evening. So
Would you like to leave your favorite comment?
yeah, well, thanks.
Is there anybody else who would like to make a comment about this? Anything? It's privilege of the floor.
Ma'am, if you want to speak first.
No, I decided I'm not gonna bother speaking because nobody listens.
My name's Mark Washburn, 2141 Craft Road. Give you a little backstory. Before any conversation was had about this land sale,
Mark, if you
Heather
have
and
any
I,
minutes.
Heather and I had a discussion on how we could survive in this town. We had decided before any conversations to subdivide and to sell. Our first option was to sell to a developer. We could make big money selling 30 to 50 acres to a developer who would then come in and put up housing. Because according to our zone, there are ways that a developer could put a road in and sell off many different parcels. We were approached by the town. They were in desperate need of property. We wanted to be able to have a say in what happened with that property. A big developer is not going to care what a homeowner thinks. So we decided to take a price cut, sell to the town where we have a voice, where you guys have the opportunity to say what you want to see done with the property. If they're not going to go in with bulldozers, they want public input. So I am going to be right there at every single meeting. And I ask you guys to join me so we can give back to our community in the generations to come. We understand, we don't want a big subdivision behind us. We wanted to be able to provide our kids use all of those Taganic Soccer League and the rec club. Our kids are involved. We have 4 of them. Why not be able to give back to kids and that are going to come to this community? That is why we decided to subdivide and do what we did. We can't subdivide our land again, but we can be good stewards and help the town make good decisions on what's going to happen in our backyards.
And the town would allow some big.
That is allowed.
A lot of
in those.
houses in there and that 30.
Like I said, we were in talks, my wife and I were in talks, and we looked into zoning and what is allowed on that property. And yes, that is possible with the town zoning code. We didn't want that in our backyard. We didn't want to put that in your backyard. How else to do it and allow you guys to have public comment and your voices heard to see what's developed there.
My voice is heard.
And I thank you for that. I thank you, but
also
I
didn't-
asked,
Wouldn't have, I don't object to the subdivision per se.
I understand that, but the reason we did this was so people could talk about it.
Right, well, that's what I think. It's good for.
And that's what's gonna
For
happen.
the ideas to be put out there now, because people should be thinking about it for the future.
And I am gonna be right there next to you in all of these board meetings and planning board meetings to figure out what happens on that property. Because we want to see something beautiful and good for the community.
If you want to see something beautiful, just won't find that road the way it is.
I do. But rather than seeing a subdivision go in there with multiple houses, I would rather see kids running around kicking a ball.
Well, you know,
Fellas, we got a couple
That's me.
hands raised up there.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. So we're gonna start with Jordan B. Jordan, please state your name and address, and when you do, I'll start the timer for 3 minutes.
Hello, my name is Jordan Bonafide. My address is 8011 Falls Road, Trumansburg.
Go ahead.
Right, okay. I'd just like to say I support the subdivision. I come from a pretty small town that was very poor. And one of the things I noticed when we came here is we are one of 2 towns in the entire county that has no town-owned rec fields. And I understand there's at least a neighbor there objecting to using those fields for recreation, which is obviously an allowable use. And it's obviously something that will benefit the whole community. You talked about making Ulysses a place that people want to live. I personally coach soccer. I have kids in soccer and I play soccer. And for me to do that, I have to drive out to Lansing or I have to drive to Ithaca because we don't have town fields here. it will be far nicer and it would make families far more apt to settle here if we had town fields. As long, from my opinion, as long as it's an allowable use in the law, it is a wonderful addition to this community to have additional recreation fields. So if you do coach soccer and you are on the Taganic board or you are on the recreational soccer board, you'll know the conversations we have and how utterly ridiculous it is to get field time for kids, much less adults at this age. We have to drive our kids to Cass Park to get any place to play. That's not even mentioning the football, not even mentioning the basketball, the baseball, not mentioning any other sports are going to benefit from this as well. So I personally am adamantly in favor of this. And I think it is wonderful to see Ulysses finally getting town rec fields and putting themselves in a line with all of the other towns, save one in this community. All right, thank you.
Thank you. All right, we got another hand up there.
No.
No, okay. Is there anybody else who'd like to utilize privilege of the floor? Sir, go ahead, step up to the microphone, state your name and address.
I just wanted to say this.
State your name and address, please.
Francis Granby, 1537 Trumansburg Road.
Thank you.
When I came to Ithaca almost 30 years ago, the main street, Meadow Street, was not developed. Just full potential the way it is today. Mayor Cohen was there at the time, pushed for a lot of progressive development there. Okay. Then East Hill started to get developed, and then people moved out to Lansing, big development housing over there. What's left? West Hill. From 96 all the way through all those little side roads, all those jetties that going off down there towards the lake, everything else. Eventually, more business is going to come in here. More developers are going to come in here over a period of years, and they're going to build. Because people want to come in here. People want to come in here from all over. And where is the land? The land potentially, which people would rather see as prime land, is right along 96, right along this area. Town of Ulysses, Lawrence T-Bird, all this area. It's going to develop, and you can't stop it. But how you develop it is who you allow in here. What businesses you allow in here will set the trajectory of how the quality of life and everything else is maintained all the way through from Jacksonville to Ulysses to T-Bird and so forth. So that's something to look at. You folks are not just developing. You're not dealing with just one item today, 2 items. You've got a long road ahead of you, and that's going to take 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, and it's going to be built up. As sure as I'm standing here, if I won't be around to see it, but it will. It's all be developed. Burnberry came in here. Kinney's came in here. You know, I mean, they're moving. They're coming in. Those businesses are good businesses, but who do we want and what the area will benefit? That's the biggest factor. I mean, where you shop. I mean, where you go to church, how you're raising a family, you know, also. So all that put together, you want to keep a quality of life. You know, you want to keep family values here. You want people to say, hey, I can go out there,
30
I can
seconds.
move in that area. Yes. And I think that's a lot to take into consideration. I think that's the most important thing. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other comments tonight?
I have a question. I think this is the appropriate time to make that question. Is that correct?
Just state your name and address. That is correct.
I'm Amelia Christiane and I reside at 1535 Edmondsburg Road. So one of the questions that I've had is based on my limited understanding of what I've observed, is that when it comes to the Dollar General project, they will be required to submit to the planning board these changes. I was wondering how I would access what it is that they submit. The reason why I'm asking this is I've made attempts to access what they've already submitted, and those attempts have been unsuccessful. Granted, what have I done for that? I've gone onto the website. At our last public hearing, there was a link that allowed me to. I did that last time, but there isn't one for tonight. In addition, we received 2 mailings at our home. And they were different in the sense of like what we received. This most recent one had a much larger picture of like what the facade would look like. So I'm just wondering too, how I will know of the next public hearing, because I don't believe one was scheduled, and how I access what it is that Dollar General submits, because I believe it would be public record and I'm entitled to it.
Yeah. Let me answer that. So you are correct. Like when we had that first public hearing, there was a link. And that was a link to the application. And then tonight, right, we have it on the agenda and you can access that through the town's website, but there's no link. And so I actually also, so I had to go back to the other agenda from the first public hearing. And that's the link that I accessed when using this. However, I feel like with this, I would like for all of our agenda items, even if they're returning, to include a link. So people don't have to go back through to look at old agendas. I would like our agendas to contain links, even if it's something that's an old thing. So I think that's maybe something we could work out.
Okay.
Yeah. And then as far as, how will you know when the next one is?
Well, and how
There
will
will be notice. We'll have to send a notice. We have to do the sign, we have to mail to neighbors. And then also like our meetings are on the first Tuesday and the third Tuesday of the month. And so the agendas are posted on the website. So, go in and check and see if it's something that you want to come to, and I know the Dollar General will definitely be here, but maybe there's other stuff that you want to come to as well.
And how will I access all of the, like, the traffic study, for instance? Is that all going to be in that link or is it somewhere else?
Should all be in that. All be in the year.
Okay,
Yeah.
And
Because
to be
it is public.
and to be fair, Neil's has got, I've been doing this for a long time. Niels has done getting better and better at giving us very clear documentation and making it easier to get access to. So we're improving. I
Yeah,
can just tell you that. We used to not be, and Molly gets really good minutes. So
yeah,
every year I watch us get better and better, trying to make it more transparent. So
Yeah.
we're working at it and your suggestions are good ones.
yeah.
I know your buzzer went off. If I could just follow us real quickly. I anticipate being luminous because of the traffic study and all of those other things.
Yeah.
How much notice should I anticipate having so that my husband and I can review it
So
appropriately?
we've asked for at least that the materials be submitted at least 3 weeks before, the meeting that we have the next hearing now.
Okay,
So how, when the materials are submitted, how quickly deals can get that into a link and the agenda won't quite necessarily, well, I don't know, as soon as he can get them up there. So, as soon as he can.
It's a manpower
ideally,
issue.
yeah, no, I understand.
Yeah.
No, I didn't.
If he gets them 3 weeks ahead of the meeting, he gets them up there 2 weeks ahead of the meeting, then that's 2 weeks.
Okay,
For you.
okay, all right,
Yeah.
thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, last call.
I will make a comment.
All right,
I'm Penny McGuire, 6560 Route 227. I'm across the road from cars. It's not pleasant. Not at all. I've lived in that house for 56 years. Now I have floodlights. And I go down and I complain. Then they get a new manager. And they put the floodlights back up again. I had to move my bedroom from this corner of the house upstairs on the opposite side. I've never seen any of these wonderful plans that she passed out to everybody. I didn't know anything about they're going to put in this retaining pond. You know where the water goes? Goes down the ditch, comes down the ditch. Goes right by my yard. Right down to the creek. I listen to these people. Their favorite word is 4 letters and begins with F. They don't realize how loud they are don't talk in normal voices evidently, because I can be sitting in my living room and hear them out there. Now this new proposal, the way they come in and park, their headlights point right toward my house. So now they're gonna build another building, and guess where the parking lot is? And guess how it's laid out? More lights. So I guess my only recourse is to put my house on the market now, before I got $49,000 gone. Because who wants to live next to them? Not very many people. I've complained, their other neighbors have complained. They need to make a deal with Midas Muffler, because no one that works there has a decent muffler on their car. They go up that street like it's a racetrack. They can't wait to get out of work evidently. So there's some of the things that, you know, you need better information. They put out information. They brought a letter that said, we're gonna build this building now. If you got any questions, then they put 2 names out there. Didn't send any diagrams, anything. So I'm just disgusted with the whole thing. I'm disgusted that they're there. I had to laugh when you said the zoning is supposed to fit the neighborhood. I don't know if you know when that building was first built. It was pink, purple, red.
I remember that.
Yeah. I don't see any other ones in the neighborhood that are that color.
Thank you for your comments. I
Thank you.
would want to say, if you don't mind, with the lighting, there may be a compliance issue there with our, our code asks for lighting to be downcast and to be low impact. So they may be, I can't say they are, but they may be out of compliance. That's something that that we may look into. As far as like looking at, parking lots and parking, there needs to be a vegetative buffer between any parking lot that has more than 9 cars and it's visible to the road. So that's something else that, needs to be in their plans. So I'm glad that you're here and I'm glad that you're sharing with us. And
You should
also,
come out and spend an afternoon.
I just might. And in 2 weeks, we're gonna have a public hearing, so I invite you to come and share at that public hearing as well.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, I would accept a motion.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
All right,
I'll second it.
all right, thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Right?